It comes from the Lord. Hallelujah. It comes from you. Thank you, sir. In Matthew, the 20th chapter, the 16th verse says, so the last shall be first, and the first last. For many are called, but few chosen. So the last shall be first, and the first last. For many are called, but few chosen.
My Lord, my Lord.
I just want to use for a subject this morning on this Labor Day weekend, working your way into the throne room. Working your way into the throne room. This day of worship where we have gathered ought to always be a day of celebration. It's also a great opportunity for us to be able to have this conversation about our service, our work, our labor, if you will, for the kingdom. While we are in this pause in the midst of our nation as far as work and or labor is concerned, I wonder if we might utilize this opportunity to talk about how much work we do for the kingdom. Because some of us are so caught up in the world and what the world wants and what the world requires that we forgot we also work for the Lord. Is that all right? And so this morning, I just want to spend just a few moments with you trying to discuss with us our labor for the Lord. Seeing as how we've sat and watched with great rapture the homegoing services of two great icons of our nation this past weekend. And with this being Labor Day, I thought it would also be a good time for us to check our kingdom time card. To see if we got anything to celebrate, or maybe you ought not take a holiday. Maybe you ought to just keep right on working. Maybe instead of sitting down, you ought to get up. Maybe instead of trying to figure out how you were going to enjoy this extra day off, you ought to try to figure out how to get an extra day of work. Now, don't get all bent out of shape with me this morning about the title of my sermon, Working Your Way into the Throne Room. Because I already know that Ephesians chapter 2 verses 8 through 9, Barbara, says, for by grace are ye saved through faith, and that not of yourselves, but that it is the gift of God. Watch it. Not of works, lest any one of you boast, but of grace. Why? But in our scripture text this morning, however, a parable told by Jesus himself makes it very clear that our salvation is not tied to the length of our service, but our service to him is worth something. Amen. I ain't gonna get no help, but I'm gonna preach anyhow. I said, too many Christians want to interpret this parable and the verses from Ephesians to mean that not just the quantity of our service, but even the quality of our service is of no significance, Reverend Rush, to our faith walk. So allow me to play the role of spiritual advocate today, if you don't mind, and do a little teaching on this subject of service, because I think for too long, too many of us have gotten it wrong and think we can just skate our way right on into glory. See, I discovered that Jesus, watch this, talked a lot about service to the kingdom. In Matthew chapter 4, verse number 10, Jesus said, thou shalt worship the Lord thy God, watch him only shalt thou serve.
Say that.
In Matthew chapter 6, verse 24, Jesus said, none of you can serve two masters. In John 12 and 26, Jesus said, if any man gonna work for me, let him put down everything else and follow me. In the same verse, Jesus said, if anyone serve me, him will my Father honor. Jesus also said, let your light so shine that they may see your good works and glorify your Father which is in heaven. And in another place Jesus said, verily, verily, I say unto you, he that believeth on me, the works that I do, he shall also do, and greater works than these shall he do.
Say that.
So it seems there's some work we ought to be. Come on, sir. Y'all get the picture yet? Watch this. Service or works is important. Just because you can't earn your way into heaven, that doesn't absolve you or free you from working for the kingdom at all. In our parable this morning, Jesus makes it clear that whether you accept him in your youth or at the midnight hour of your life, the reward is the same. Or is it? Watch this, somebody. Jesus closes this parable, in fact, with a very powerful statement that I believe sheds some incredible light on this question of service. For he says at the very end, for the last shall be first and the first shall be last. But watch this. Then he adds to it, for many are called, but few are chosen. Come on, sir. Y'all ain't with me yet. What's it? We love to interpret that statement by Jesus to mean that those who are oppressed in this life will be rewarded in the next. You're going to get bumped up in line just because you done went through enough trouble here on earth. You're going to get to move to the front of the line because everybody kept you in the back of the line for most of your life. But that's not what this text actually means. It actually, y'all, is a very stern warning to those of you who have gotten comfortable sitting in the pew every Sunday, collecting a check from the Lord, but ain't done nothing for the Lord. Come on, sir. It's actually a warning. In order for us to understand this warning, however, we've got to go back to the latter part of chapter 19, where Peter asked the Lord to clarify for him, Jesus, hold up, tell me what's going to be my heavenly reward. In the text in chapter 19, where it says, Peter presses Jesus saying, hey man, we've given up everything to follow you. What we gonna get when we get over into this kingdom of? Isn't that just like us, y'all? Before we give too much, we want to know what we gonna get. And Jesus turns to Peter and says to him, watch it, the disciples will sit on thrones of glory and judge the 12 tribes of Israel. But he also gives Peter a warning, saying, but many that are first shall be last, and the last shall be first. Hold on, wait a minute. That was Jesus' first mention of the last and first rule. What does this last and first rule really mean? Because when I signed my employment contract, that's not what I understood. When I got my promotion to being a child of the King, that's not exactly what I understood. I'm trying to figure this thing out, Sister Eugenia. I want to know, what does this mean? Jesus is saying that we should take heed of the quality of our service, not just how long we've been in service.
My Lord. My Lord.
It's not how long we've been on the field. It's what we've been doing.
My Lord. Come on, sir. Come on, sir.
Not how long you've been in church, but what you've been doing out of church. Not just how long you've had your name in a prominent position within your local congregation, but what have you been doing in the field for the Lord?
My Lord. My Lord.
Because a whole lot of us been in church all our lives, but haven't done anything for the Lord. In fact, I can go another further, if you don't mind, and say to us, some of us only do stuff that's going to give us or put us in position for others to pat us on the back.
Come on, sir.
If I ain't gonna get no credit for it, I ain't showing up. If ain't nobody gonna mention my name, I ain't coming. If I don't get to be in one of the front seats, I'm not gonna show up.
Come on, sir. Come on, sir.
We're gonna mess around and lose our position in glory because we are more concerned about what's in it for me than what I'm doing for the Lord. And before you get all nasty about it, let me go on and tell you, yes, there are positions in heaven.
That's right. Teach.
I know some of y'all are in the back, especially because y'all are my people. Y'all are saying right now, look, Pastor, I don't really care if I'm up front or not. In fact, if I'm on the furthest hilltop way in the back, I'll be fine. In fact, if I can just get a corner somewhere around the backside of heaven, if I can just get underneath a tree somewhere, I'll be fine. Because all I want to do is just get in. But wouldn't you rather be among the elect who celebrate somewhere right around his throne? Do you really want to need to have binoculars over in heaven just to be able to see?
Well, now.
Sister Cecilia, I don't want to get to glory anymore and be so far back in the back part of the crowd that I can't even. Have you ever been to a concert and you went and spent all that money to get into the concert and your seat's so far back and behind folk that won't sit down? You know how bad it is in church. You come on somebody, you know you get angry because the folk in front of you in church stand up too much and you can't see what's going on. So how do you want to be way in the... I don't know about you, but I really want to get as close to the throne of God as He will allow me to get. And if my location or reward in heaven is determined by my service, then I'm going to serve Him while I can to the best of my ability. In the parable of our text for this sermon, Jesus repeats the same warning again. So somebody said anything is worth repeating. Is that true? So after explaining that our works do not get us into heaven, Jesus warns us, however, don't be goofing off.
Well.
You better be earnest in your service to the kingdom, or you're going to mess around and lose your position in heaven to somebody who was more diligent than you are. I need y'all to get this thing this morning. In order maybe to help us better understand this principle of the reward of service, let's consider for just a moment our earthly places of employment. Is that all right? Watch this. Let's consider our earthly places where your coworker always shows up on time every day, while you come pulling in the parking lot on 2 wheels just at the right time. that earthly place where your coworker is always willing to work some overtime, but you always too busy to stick around and help out. Maybe at your job, your coworker is always the last to leave every day, where 5 or 10 minutes before it's time to clock out, you done already closed down your computer, gathered up all your personal belongings, sat and watching the clock for it to tick closer to closing time, so that you can gather your stuff. In fact, by the time the clock reaches 12 on the last minute of your typical workday, you already pushing the button on the elevator so that you get.
Well, now.
Maybe, just maybe, your coworker is always one of those who is volunteering for special projects and is always looking to learn something new. But every time the boss comes out and starts talking about needing volunteers for something different, you always got your head down acting like you busy and can't hear. And then you want to know why you never get promoted. Why your position in the company never changes.
Say that.
Now let me ask you this question. In a world of perfect justice, who do you think deserves to be promoted? Yeah, your coworker. Well, brother, sister, it's no different in heaven then, is it? When God, who is the perfect judge, executes his perfect judgment, those who have borne their burdens in the heat of the day will receive a just reward. And I'm not talking about those who suffered in poverty. I'm not talking about those who had bad health. I'm talking about those who worked and gave the best of their service. That's the burden that God is looking for if you're willing or not to bear. If you want a special place in heaven, then you've got to do the work necessary in order for you to get there. Is that all right? I need to go ahead and get out of here. Come, let me just make these 3 points and then I'm going to sit down. Is that all right? Y'all thought I was preaching before. I ain't preaching yet. I'm getting to preach right now. Let me make my 3 points and I'm going to get out y'all's way. Here's the first one. The first one is there's work to do.
Come on.
Sometimes I think we get the idea that our service to Jesus Christ is optional.
You already got that one, right?
Sometimes I think that we think it's a checklist and we get to decide what we're going to do and not do. That at the end of the day, the basic salvation contract has on it a list of stuff that Jesus needs done. And we get to go down the checklist and see which ones we going to check off and we going to do and which ones we not going to do or we not going to pay any attention to. Y'all know what I mean. We like to look down the list and see, let me see, mission work. I ain't checking that one. Perfect church attendance. I'm going to be there every Sunday. Nope, I ain't checking that one. Let me see, share the gospel with your neighbors. I don't even like them people. Wait a minute, the next one is carry your Christian load. It get too heavy. Too many of us, my brothers and sisters, have checked off nothing at all, and yet we are expecting a reward.
Say that, man.
In fact, we are expecting not for God to reward us when we get over there, but we have the audacity to ask our boss for a raise while we down here.
Come on now. Come on, sir.
We have the audacity to go to Jesus in prayer and ask him to bless us all over again when we haven't done anything since the last time he blessed.
That's true.
Too many of us have the attitude that our sacrifice is not necessary because Jesus paid it all. Wait a minute, my brothers and sisters, just like there are certain attitudes that you have at work that your secular boss hates. Watch this. Have you ever paused to think about how your spiritual boss feels about your attitude toward his work? Now I know there's different kinds of workers, so let me go ahead and give y'all an out so y'all won't be mad at me and invite me back next Sunday to preach again, because everybody doesn't perform the same task. For instance, when you want to move a piano, there's always that one who will get in the back and push, and then there's that one who will move around the front and grab a hold and pull, and then there's Sherman who just gonna show up, pick up the piano bench, and walk out the door. Y'all get the point. Everybody got a job to do. Listen, the piano bench was important. Somebody had to take it. But there's also the fact to consider, watch this, that a life withdrawn from service loses its meaning. Watch this, the great violinist, Niccolo Paganini, wheeled his marvelous violin to Genoa, the city of his birth. But he gave it to them with one condition. He gave it to them with the condition that that instrument never be played again. That was an unfortunate mistake, however. It was an unfortunate condition for him to put in the contract, because the peculiarity of wood, y'all, is that it must be handled in order to prevent it from being withering away. And as soon as wood is discarded or put on a shelf or put in a place where nobody does anything else with it, it begins to decay. That exquisite mellow-toned violin has now become nothing more than a worm-eaten piece of wood sitting in a beautiful case, and it is now valueless except as a relic in a museum. And that rotting instrument is a reminder that a life withdrawn from all Christian service to others loses its meaning altogether. You can come to church all you want, but if you think you retired from church work, you just sitting in the museum called the sanctuary, withering and dying. Secondly, there are wages to be paid. I know it sounds a bit strange to our ears, but God is indebted to us for our service, and He will reward us in due time. Here's some good news. We ain't working for free. Jesus himself, in fact, mentioned the word reward to his disciples 16 times. And in the whole context of the Bible, Old and New Testament, the word reward appears 80 times. In fact, you can't read the Bible in context without coming away with the distinct impression that God has a reward for those who believe in Him. The trouble, however, is too many of us must not believe that God has any real reward at all. How else can you explain how humanity spends all of its time and energy chasing after trifling things of this world and treat God as if He is nothing, and treat the nothings of this world as if they are everything?
Well, now.
Watch this, church. God has put us in a race for the finish line. A race that ends at either heaven or hell. But too many of us are loitering along the way and chasing after the childish toys of the world. And we forget the real prize that we are striving for. I was watching the Diamond League track and field event not long ago. And I watched as the starters started the gun and everybody took off at a fast pace. But as they rounded the second turn, I looked real close, and there was one girl that was running way in the back. And she was busy looking around at everybody in the stands and everybody in the center of the oval. Everybody else is running, and she basically is trotting and paying attention to everybody else. Well, they panned back to the front, and as they were watching the leaders who were striding toward the finish line and putting in some real work, and they panned real quick back to the girl at the back who now has fallen so far back that the pan took a long time before it got back to where she was, and she had the audacity to wave at somebody. The announcer said, I don't know what race she thinks she's in, but this is one she's definitely not going to win. Church, what are we striving for? Have you got your eyes on the prize? And are you running the race set before you? Or have you decided you've done the best of your service and now you just gonna coast? I can't keep no here.
Come on, sir.
Our ignorance of the prize does not make the prize any less valuable. Somebody said a pearl is still a pearl, whether it's still in the ocean or it's around your neck. The only difference is in the possession.
All right.
Y'all will get that when you get home. Let me go to my third point. My son in the back told me it's time to go. Watch it. The third point is this: there's justice in the payment.
Say that. Come on now. Say that.
While it's true that we are all on an equal or level plane when we accept Jesus Christ, that's where the equality ends. Sure, you can accept Jesus Christ at the 9th hour of your life and still make it into heaven. Sure, you can just do some work for him and still make it into heaven. But remember, God is keeping your time card and your pay will be based not just on the length of your service, but also on the depth of your service. And I don't know about you, but I want my time card to be full. From the moment of our conversion forward, each of us is on our own, working, as the old saints would say, to put stars in our crown. And when we get to heaven and stop by the transition desk to trade our weapons of war in for our crown, watch this, no two crowns are going to be alike. God is keeping a record of every sacrifice and bit of labor that you do for the kingdom, and every act of kindness that you demonstrate, and every bit of service that you perform in order to advance his witness around the world. He's keeping your personal time card, and when you punch out for the last time on this side of glory, hallelujah, the Lord is going to tally up what he owes you and reward you according to your service. Jesus said in Matthew 16:27, for the Son of Man shall come in the glory of his Father with his angels, and then he shall reward everyone according to their works. Jesus also said in Revelation chapter 22 and verse number 12, and behold, I come quickly, and my reward is with me to give to everyone according to their works. Yes, sir. Jesus reminds us that we serve a just God. And how could God be a just God and not be fair? Watch this. Would he grant the same reward to you that he gonna grant to Mother Teresa? We talk about a woman who chose poverty in order to help others. We talk about somebody who put her life on the line to bless other people. We talk about somebody who gave up everything in order to lift folk. We talk about somebody who tried to make the world a better place, that was willing to go out in the low places and lift people that she was not even like, that people that didn't meet her skin tone, didn't have her education, didn't have her opportunity, but she went where they were and lived among them to try to lift it. If you're going to make something great again, you got to be willing to help everybody, not just for somebody. You're not going to get the same reward that Mother Teresa peace of God unless you're willing to give what she gave. It's my hope and prayer that by now the farthest hilltop over in heaven is no longer looking so good to some of us in the room. I pray that your appreciation for the sacrifice of Jesus Christ on the cross of Calvary would move you to squeeze every bit of service out of yourself that you possibly can. That when the call goes out, that he's looking for some workers who are willing to spread the word, whether it's about the next election, or whether it's about some children that are suffering, or maybe it's about the educational system of our society today, or maybe it's just to reach out and touch somebody's hand as you pass along the way, that there'll be some of us who will be willing to stand up and go to work. Because I remember the text and the parable that Jesus said, because when he got, Sister Barbara, to the last group of folk, he went back out in the street, and there they were just standing idle. And he said to them, why are you out here standing idle? There's work everywhere for somebody to be doing. And they reported back to him and said, well, we've been here all day because ain't nobody asked us to do anything. And the householder said, well, I'm asking you, so come on and go with me. Wait a minute, it's the end of the day. I don't care what time it is. Come on and work for me, and I'll pay you what I feel it is worth. Hallelujah. Here's where I get in trouble with the saints, because at the end of the parable, when Jesus got done telling it, he called those who he picked up at the very end, those who had been sitting idle, and called them to the pay table. When they got to the pay table, he reached out and gave them a penny. Some of the folk who've been out there in the heat of the day, you know, some of the folk who've been sitting in church for 60, 70 years, you know, some of the people who've been occupying the cheap seat, they was watching and see, ooh, they got a penny. That's what he said he was going to pay us. Surely he going to give us something more. We going to get better than that. And so as they were making their way to the front of the line at the pay table, they began to notice that those folk who he called at the 6th hour got a penny. Those folk that he called at the 3rd hour got a penny. And now as they turned at the pay table and they reached out their hand and looked down, and there was they got angry and said to the householder, wait a minute, man, how you gonna give us the same thing that you gave the person that came in at the last minute? And he said to him, what you mad about? Did I give you what I contracted with you? Good God Almighty. Can y'all mind if I harborize this thing a bit? Watch this. Didn't I promise you you could get into heaven? I'm letting you in. You ain't do nothing after I made you the promise, but that's all you're going to get. Is what? Had you done something extra, I wouldn't have had to go higher than anybody else. Had you done the work I needed you to do, I wouldn't have had to go out and keep finding new people. I promised you that you could get in. That's all you're going to get is in. You ain't going to get nothing extra. You ain't going to get a greater reward. Had you been busy, I wouldn't have needed so many workers. But because many were called, but obviously you weren't chosen to do any work because you didn't choose to do any. The God Almighty, you was too busy working on yourself. You didn't choose to do any of the work I needed to be done. You were in the field doing what was necessary. You were just goofing around. You were just being lazy. And so I paid you what I promised you.
Wow. Wow.
What you mad about? Because you've been in church for 70 years. And you're going to get the same reward as somebody who came last week. What you mad about?
Say that, man. Go ahead.
Because you've been on the motherboard for all your life. And this young girl who showed up at the funeral in a short black dress gonna get in the same way you read it. What you angry about? Yeah, I saw the funeral too, and I saw all y'all's comments. Did any of y'all ever think about maybe nobody ever witnessed to her? Did any of y'all ever think about maybe nobody ever talked to her?
That's right, Pastor.
We were so busy judging her, we forgot to love her.
Say that.
Here the Lord brought about the field right in front of us, and instead of working on the field, we talked about the field.
Down now.
Ooh, it did hot in here now. We were so busy judging, we forgot to help.
Say that, Pastor.
Oh, now you want to change your Facebook page. Or at least make Pastor not a part of it. Listen, there is a reward. And your reward over in glory is based upon whether or not you did any work.
Say that.
Not about how long you've been in the field. And I'm so sick and tired of folks who think they get to retire from kingdom work. There's no retirement here. In fact, in kingdom work, you don't even get a day off. Because there's always somebody that needs you to pray. Always somebody that needs a witness. Always somebody that needs someone to encourage them. Always somebody that needs somebody to speak life into their living. Always somebody who needs somebody who can point them in the right direction. There is no days off when you work for the kingdom. And whatever point in which he called you, you ought to work while it's day because night is coming. The end of the race is just around the corner. I don't know when, I don't know where, but I know that one of these old mornings, each of us in this room is going to punch out for the last time. And we're going to be stretched out in front of some altar. And I don't want a preacher to have to get up and lie about my service. I want somebody to stand up and say he did the best that he could. But more important, Sister Angela, when I got over on the other side, I want to hear him say, well done, my good and faithful servant. You work while you're good. Well done, my good and faithful servant. You work the works that I gave for you to do. Well done, my good and faithful servant. Not only did you show up at church, but you showed up on Tuesday. You came back on Thursday. Showed up on Friday. Put in work on Saturday. Well done, my servant. You have done well. Now, come on into your Father's kingdom and receive the reward that has been laid up for you. Because over here, our Father has a reward for everybody who works for him. And then, let us usher you on up to the front. Not in the back. Get a seat in the throne room. Because that's where those who have been working for the Lord get to stay. Are you working your way to the throne room? Or are you just hanging around, hoping to slide in again? Let us stand.